In the current context of the Constitutional Amendment Bill to extend the president's term limit, I want you to listen to what General Chiwenga said over here and think about it.
It is pertinent to restate that the Zimbabwe Defense Forces remain the major stockholder in respect to the gains of the liberation struggle. And when these are threatened, we are obliged to take corrective measures. What is obtaining in the Revolutionary Party is a direct result of the machinations of counter-revolutionaries who have infiltrated the party and whose agenda is to destroy it from within. It is saddening to see our revolution being hijacked by agents of our erstwhile enemies, who are now at the brink of returning our country to foreign domination, against which so many of our people perished. It is our strong and deeply considered position that if drastic action is not taken immediately, our beloved country, Zimbabwe, is definitely headed to becoming a neo-colony again. The current purging and cleansing process in ZANU-PF, which so far is targeting mostly members associated with our liberation history, is a serious cause of concern to us in the Defense Forces. As a result of squabbling within the ranks of ZANU-PF, there has been no meaningful development in the country for the past 5 years. The resultant economic impasse has ushered in more challenges to the Zimbabwean populace, such as cash shortages and rising commodity prices. While our people may be persuaded to take what is going on in ZANU-PF as internal political matters in that party, the truth remains that ZANU-PF's conduct and behavior as a ruling party has a direct impact on the lives of every citizen. Hence, all of us, regardless of political affiliation, are affected by the party's manner of doing business. From a security point of view, we cannot ignore the experiences of countries such as Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, and many others in our region, where minor political differences degenerate into serious conflict that has decimated the social, political, and economic security of ordinary people. Section 212 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe mandates the Zimbabwe Defense Forces to protect Zimbabwe, its people, its national security and interest, and its territorial integrity, and to uphold this Constitution.
And there you hear it for yourself 9 years ago, when the then general of the army of Zimbabwe was about to remove Robert Mugabe, saying that when the civilian leadership fails to undertake their duty, when the president of the republic fails to uphold the constitution, fails to unite the Zimbabwean people, and the parliament fails to hold him accountable and to force him to uphold the constitution, and the courts fail to take action to protect the constitution and to enunciate on how the laws of the country are supposed to be followed, then there becomes instability, and this instability causes a national security threat. And when that happens, the military of Zimbabwe is obliged to intervene so that we do not become Congo or any one of these other countries that are destabilized and unstable. And we're saying to you, what is so ironic is when you listen to what it is that the general said 9 years ago, and you apply it today, it almost sounds like he is talking about Zimbabwe today, where we've got a current president that is trying to butcher the constitution, and the parliament is not holding him accountable, and the judiciary, despite having cases that have come in front of it, and they should make rulings to uphold the constitution, they have not, because they are looking at their own personal benefit, their allegations that they've been bribed, and they've stopped undertaking their duties to a point where the country is rolling towards instability. The military again might be forced to intervene if the civilians involved do not undertake their duties to do the work that they took an oath to do and to uphold the constitution of Zimbabwe. Now, if you remember what caused insecurity in 2017, is that then President Robert Mugabe did not want to be succeeded by his vice president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is now the president of Zimbabwe. And so he used party structures. He manipulated party structures, did not follow the constitution, to the extent that he got 9 out of 10 provinces to eject or to expel Emmerson Mnangagwa from the party. He ended up having to go into exile. Today, the very same thing is happening. President Emmerson Mnangagwa does not want to be succeeded by his vice president once again, who is Constantine Chiwenga. He instead wants to be succeeded either by family members or many people say Kudata Gurei. So again, the processes of ZANU-PF and the structures of ZANU-PF are being manipulated to the extent that this new amendment to the constitution came from conference instead of Congress, yet the only policy that is supposed to be implemented from ZANU-PF are supposed to come from Congress. So once again, we've got instability because a sitting president does not want to be succeeded by his vice president. Now, here's the difference between the instability caused under Robert Mugabe and that which we're seeing under President Mnangagwa. Under Robert Mugabe, there was not as much fear as we're seeing today. Why? Because you could actually see the Youth League and the war veterans begin to rise and oppose Munwese kuna Amai. People did not fear to stand up against Robert Mugabe, and he did not use the system to beat, arrest, and to threaten people's lives. However, under President Mnangagwa, there is so much fear. There is so much bribery. Kudata Gurei has gone to pay soldiers and people to go and beat people, to arrest people, and to victimize people to the extent that there's no fear, that very few people want to stand up against them. What is making people even more afraid is that 51 generals have died between 2017 and today in inexplicable manners, to the extent that people fear that what happened to the generals can happen to them. More importantly, the level of capture by counter-revolutionaries. You've got this Kudata Gurei. He sits on the World Economic Forum, a globalist institution that brought us COVID so that there could be a reset of the rich taking from the poor their properties. Kuda has been taking the assets of Zimbabwe, like, for instance, Great Dyke Investments from the military that owns some of the biggest reserves of platinum, and he put it into his own private company, which he resold back to the government for 1.9 billion. These are the counter-revolutionaries controlling the government and wanting to replace Emmerson Mnangagwa, and they're using bribery, fear, and beatings. Now, the question is, should we allow the parliament to do its thing and the judiciary, or should the army begin to look at taking over the country because of the instability that is taking us to